Okay, this ought to be fun. This is Peter for DrVoIP, and we're going to take a look at building an automated attendant, a robot receptionist. In an earlier venture, I used to call it cobotics, a cobot. But we're going to use AWS, Benchmark, and some other resources to build a automated attendant. Uh, Norbert Wiener for uh, you younger folks was a early on computer science, actually a mathematician, and he coined the expression the human use of human beings. In fact, he wrote a book entitled The Human Use of Human Beings, but the proponent of automation that he was basically said, let's uh, let's free humans to do those things that only humans can do and automate those things that would be repetitious, uninspiring. Let's let the machine handle that. And so what we're going to do here is build a robot receptionist using AWS Amazon Connect as the client, but we want someone to answer the phone and do the kinds of things that a human receptionist might do. We need the bot to provide a greeting and a salutation. We want them to screen the caller and route the caller. So let's create a dial by name capability. We want to be able to do message acquisition and message retrieval. So we'll need to interface with the voicemail system. And it'd be nice if the bot could handle frequently asked questions. So to accomplish this, we're going to require several services inside of AWS. We're going to build the bot using Legs um, version 2. Version 1 has been around for a while. Version 2 is significantly more capable. And the transition from version 1 to version 2 uh, was a little challenging, but it's not that demanding. If you're familiar with the core concepts in version 1, they're applicable to version 2, but it's a more demanding configuration because it has more dramatic results. We're going to use Bedrock, and in Bedrock, you'll pick a foundation model. In this example, we're going to use Anthropic Claude version 2. And with that, acting as kind of our automated search, you'll be able to create a knowledge base. And the knowledge base can be many different things. If you want to have an S3 bucket that has a bunch of PDFs in it, you can do that. Word documents. You can interface with, I don't know, SharePoint. You can interface with your Salesforce. There are many different strategies. What I'm doing in this particular one is we're going to integrate with our website, the company website. So the knowledge base will, in fact, scrape the website, store that information, and make it available to our search engine. Uh, so the steps are first, you're going to go to Benchmark and you have to acquire permission to access a model. So get that out of the way because it does take a little time to get that done. You're going to go to Benchmark. You'll find a place where you can request access to any one of the providers or any one of the models. Get that out of the way. In step 2, you're going to build a database. You're going to select a source. And like I said, the source could be S3. It could be a web crawler, which is what I'm using in this particular implementation. Confluence, Salesforce, SharePoint, all of those can be data points. Then you're going to build your bot. Now, this is not a tutorial on building bots. We'll cover some of the basics quickly. But to build a bot, you're going to create some intents. What is an intent? An intent is like, why is this person, are they ordering a hamburger? Are they booking a hotel? In our situation, they're trying to find an agent. So that's one intent. There are other intents your bot will need. You may or may not need a slot for that intent. An example would be they say they want to talk to a human. The next question is, which human do you want to talk to? So that would be a value in a slot. And that value ultimately will be passed off to the client. Utterances are samples of what people might say to the bot. And typically you need about 10 of them to get the bot going. So can I speak with, hey, is Peter in? Can I speak to a human? Is there somebody in sales? Can I speak to someone in tech support? Those would be examples of utterances. And so we're going to go ahead and define them. The bot will extract sentiment from that utterances, and it'll enable it to sort out utterances that maybe you have not listed. Fulfillment is how do I, now that I've collected all this information, what do I do with it? In our case, the fulfillment is going to be return data to either the user or to the client. And in this case, the client is Amazon Connect. So we'll be returning, in this example, the name of the agent we want to speak with. We'll be returning that as a variable to the contact flow that will then go on and connect with that agent. You'll also have some built-in intents for error handling. There are others, but this is the basic configuration. Then you're going to go ahead and build your bot. When you build a bot in version 2, you basically are creating what's called a draft. And you can test that draft. I'll show you how to do that. And once the draft is tested and it's acceptable to you, you will have created an alias. An alias would be things like development, production, different endpoint scenarios for your bot. So we will create a version. So we have our draft, and we're going to say, okay, that's version 1, and I want to assign that to the alias called development. And maybe later on I improve that, and now I have version 2, and I'm going to assign it to that alias. Ultimately move the alias to production. And ultimately you assign the version to an alias. Then you need to build your contact flow. Contact flow for the bot is going to be pretty simple, and I'll walk you through this. So those are the pieces we need to build this. Let's jump into our Amazon Connect and our bot environment and see how these slides actually look in the real world. Okay, step 1 was to go to Amazon Bedrock. And in Amazon Bedrock, you're going to find a number of tools that you'll use in this example. But the first thing you need to do is go down here where it says Bedrock Configurations, Model Access. And you're going to need to make a request when you log in here the first time, and it lists all of these various foundation models. You've got A12 Labs, Amazon, Anthropic, and so forth. You'll see that they'll generally say available to request. You're going to have to go ahead and make a request. It's a little link down here. They may ask you to explain your use case, but generally, almost immediately to a day or so, you will be able to access your selected foundation model. What we're using here is Claude 2.1. As you can see, access has been granted. It's used for text and chat versus, let's say, image and video. That would be, Here's text and vision. They're different tools for different projects. We want one that is going to work well with text-based messaging, because the bot can be used both in Amazon Connect for voice as well as for chat. Once you've got that approved, the next thing we will do is down here under Builder Tools, we're going to go to Knowledge Bases, and we're going to create our knowledge base. Now, a knowledge base can be built from, your platform is going to need access to, in our example, a list of agent names. We want people to be able to ask about products and services in our company. We want them to be able to ask what our mailing address is. We're going to want them to request, I want to speak with a particular individual. Those are going to require a data source. In our example, you'll just go ahead and hit the Create button. It'll ask you, do you want to build a structured or a vector-based, or do you want to use Kendra? Kendra is another solution, but we went with a vector base. Go ahead and give it a name, a description. It'll create the IAM permissions you need unless you want to use an existing service role. As you play with the bot, you'll come to learn that you will have to, whatever you do, you're going to end up adding permissions to it. Permissions typically, IAM permissions are typically a permission for, let's say, a Lambda function to access a DynamoDB table. In our example, we're going to need resource permissions so that the LexBot can access a Dynamo table or a Lambda function. Your data sources, you could have an S3 bucket. It's just a bucket with a bunch of objects in it, and the object in it are, I don't know, the company's vacation policy, product pricing, whatever it is that is a reference for the bot. You're going to put in that S3 bucket. In our example, we used a web crawler. This is going to go out to our website, DrVoIP.com. It's going to go out there. It's going to index that entire website, and it's going to bring back that data and store it locally. From time to time, you will need to sync your data source. So if we update the website, we want the information to be current, so we'll go ahead and sync that data. There are a variety of data source options available to you, so you'll go ahead and do that. Just to show you, let's go to the one I've already created. So here's my data source. You can see when it was created, you can see that the data source is in fact a website. And the details of where the website is and how to get it, and the last time that it was synced is shown down here. And you will periodically go here to sync your data source. So now we have our AI engine, and we have our data source. So now we're going to go ahead and build our bot. Now, this is not a tutorial on bot building. There are plenty of other videos for that. I will cover some of the high points here. When you create a bot, you're going to decide whether it's a generative AI bot or a traditional bot. And I built this out as a traditional bot, not generative AI. And you'll see that you can get generative AI capabilities in your bot, but I go ahead and give it a name. Again, with the IAM role and permissions, whether it's built with a children's online privacy protection and things of that ilk. And then you're going to go ahead and start building the bot by adding intentions. Let's look at the one I've created already. You'll see here a menu on the left-hand side. You're going to find your bot versions. when you start building, you're building a draft version, and all of your changes are accumulated in this draft. So we're going to create intents, slot types, aliases, and let's take a look at an intent. So some of the intents that we built. So we have a welcome intent. Now, this is an intent followed by sample utterances. So someone's going to say to the bot, hello, good morning, good day, anybody home, something like that. Now, this one in our example is kind of redundant because the bot is going to be invoked by Amazon Connect. And as you see when we look at the contact flow, you're going to see that we've avoiding the need for them to say anything in this list, but it's here anyway. If the bot hears goodbye, what's it going to do? Well, there's something you called an initial response that you can program. There's something called slots, confirmation, when they enter something or speak something, do we want to confirm back? And then basically fulfillment, what do we do to fulfill the request? And then closing, when we're done fulfilling, what are we telling the caller? Now, and let's take a look at my service search. Intents here for the bot we build are things like, do you offer technical support for Amazon Connect? Can you help us configure email for Amazon Connect? Do you have a fixed fee project option? Are you an AWS certified partner? So these are potentially utterances, as they call them here, for my intent. The intent I've named is service search. So how do we tickle that? Well, you say something on this list. You'll need about 10 or so utterances, and then the bot will begin to create its own based on your understanding, its understanding of your utterance samples. Again, you can have an initial response. I don't think that I created a response here. So you ask a question, it's going to come back and say, stand by while I check with the doctor. Be patient during the silence. And or you can have a string of messages here and it'll pick one like interesting question, stand by for an answer. Let me look into that. Be right back. So I'm trying to add some humor into my bot, by the way. So slots are optional. In this case, they ask a question. We're just going to go out through our knowledge base and using our AI foundation model, search that database, which I have told you is our website, and it'll bring back an answer. So there is no slot in this example. You can provide a confirmation. After they ask the question, you might confirm that question. And fulfillment, generally with these fulfillments, you're going to specify what the next step is, right? So it'll say here, next step in the conversation. In this case is wait for additional user input. So they're asking questions. And when I answer the question, the bot answers the question, it's going to sit there and wait for you to ask another question. Or you're going to say something that's going to trigger one of the other intents. Like maybe they ask a question and the next thing they say is, can I talk to a human? So we have an intent here called get human. And that means they want to speak to an agent. So in this example, we've got some utterances here. Can I talk to someone in sales? I need technical support. Can I talk to Peter? And so forth. These are sample utterances. We can have an initial response. In this case, I'm saying, okay, you're done playing with the bot and you want to talk to a real person? Okay, and in fact, I added a bunch of messages and it will play one at random. So I say I want to talk to someone at support, and the bot will come back and say, okay, tired of playing with a bot? Okay, stand by, I'll get a real person. How about this one? A real person could put me out of work. Okay, stand by, I'll find a real person. Just trying to put some humor in the bot. Um, and slots, in this case, we do have a slot. So when they ask for to speak to someone, we then want to know who they want to speak to. So we have we check this box here, required for this intent. So if they trigger this intent, we then need to ask them, please say the first name of the agent you want to speak with, or you can say sales or support. And that slot is got a name. The name happens to be name. I should have said first name, but it's just the name. And this is going to become a variable. And this variable, when we fulfill this, is going to return that whatever they said that is now stored in a slot called name. We're going to return that variable to the function that called it. And in fact, the next step is set to end the conversation. When we end the conversation, we're going to return to the client that called this. And in our case, the client happens to be Amazon Connect. So this is just your normal Amazon Connect contact flows, nothing really different about it. There's plenty of other videos in our 2025 refresh to build on. Check those out. But here we're just going to set logging, set contact attributes, set voice, set recording. Here is this is what called the bot. So this is a get customer input. And in the process of that, we're going to invoke the bot. It knows which bot to input because we're putting it here. When you click on this step, get customer input, you've got a choice between having them touch tone in, press 1 for this, press 2 for that. But in our case, we're saying, no, we want you to use a bot. And it will list your bots here. You're going to go ahead and select that bot. And also you'll note that we prime the bot. As I told you before, when we were looking, there's really no need for a hello intent. We've got an intent here. Thank you for calling DrVoIP. I am an artificial intelligence assistant to the doctor. I can answer a lot of questions you might have about the company, our products and services. If you prefer, I can route you to an available team member. So please just ask me a question or ask to speak with a human. Now, this can be interrupted, but this is basically telling the caller their options. When they speak, they're going to go ahead and trigger one of these intents. And typically it's either going to be the search for service intent, or it's going to search for the get human intent. Now you can see how this works here. Up here, when you're in the intent section, you can click on the test button here, and it brings up this little test window. You can click on the microphone and talk to it. I'm just going to hopefully zoom in and show you this. So I'm going to say, do you have a managed service option? And this is triggering this intent over here called products and services. It's going to go out and search using the AI foundation model we created, and it's going to bring back a response. So it brings back a response that says, stand by while I check with the doctor, be patient during the silence. Now keep in mind, This is going to be something that the caller hears. I'm just showing you how it looks in the test dashboard. And it comes back and it says, yes, there is a managed service option for Amazon Connect call centers. Can you configure email for Amazon Connect? And one of the things I've noticed here in the test, you get some indication that it's thinking. But at any rate, interesting question. Stand by for a moment. Now, these were in the confirmation response section of the configuration. So you have your initial response and your confirmation. And here's the answer. Based on the provided search results, there is no information about configuring email for. That's a lie. I know that's not true. Do you have a tutorial on email? And hopefully it'll go out. You'll see the little thinking icon here. What I have found, see, yes, search results 5 provides a tutorial on how to set up email routing, blah, 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 and it gives quite an answer here. So this is just an example of how to test the bot and also how it's going to work. Now I have found that I'm not comfortable with the latency, the time it takes to go out and get this. So what I want to show you here is I originally had this set up as a service, a product and service intent. And when you select that intent, you tell it that you want to use a knowledge base for Amazon Bedrock. You could have selected open search. You could have selected Kendra or open search as options. So this caused some latency between the time I asked the question and the time we got an answer, and there was silence, and that troubled me. So what I decided to do instead of this is to use a Lambda function. So I created something called service search, which is basically the same intent. And what you can do here, by the way, is click on plain text, copy all of this. Your intents must be unique. So though my service search and my product service are basically the same intent, I was just experimenting. What I would do is I would just take all of the utterances out of one and put them in the other. But what I found out is the Lambda function was no faster than just using the built-in capabilities of the Q&A configuration. By the way, how you get there is when you say add an intent, you have the option of adding an empty intent or using the built-in intent. And if you use a built-in intent, you have the ability to select some of the already built intents. One of them is called the Q&A Gen AI feature, and that's what I used to create this bot. And then I experimented by creating the same intent but using a Lambda function. My only concern with the bot has been the latency, the time it takes to get the answer back, and the fact that the caller is hearing silence. If it's a chat, for some reason, that's not a problem. Latency, people, can see the screen and they'll understand something's going on. But in the call-in, I was a little concerned about that. I'm still trying to figure ways to make that less painful. But that's an overview of the configuration. When you're invoking the bot. Now keep in mind that we said that when the bot returns the name, we want that name. And so what we've done here, let's see if I can zoom in on this. So this invoked the bot, and when we close the conversation, it's going to return to this point. And what we do here is we set a contact attribute. And if we look at that, you'll see that we defined a parameter called agent name. And we set it to $.lex.slots.name. So what we're saying here is that in the bot, in slots, you'll find a slot named name. For purposes of this discussion, I probably should have given it a different name, but you get the message. And this name is going to contain a value. That value is going to be used in the call flow here later on. What I did here was just, a check contact attributes. If the name returned is equal to sales, go this way. If it's for support, go this way. If it's someone's name, go a different way. This was done for testing purposes. This will later be for a large deployment. This is going to need to invoke a Lambda function to go out, check the database for the user's name, get their extension number or their QARN. You're not going to get away with this format if it's a call center of any size. So that's basically it for the configuration. Let me have you hear it. Okay, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this very clearly, but let's give it a shot. I'm going to call into the bot. And
thank you for calling DrVoIP. I am an artificial intelligence assistant to the doctor. I can answer a lot of questions you might have about the company, our products and services. If you prefer, I can route you to an available team member. So please, just ask me a question or ask to speak with a human.
Do you build Amazon Connect contact centers?
Interesting question. Stand by for answer.
So this is where I wish there was a thinking sound or something going on because there's a period of silence here.
Yes, DrVoIP builds Amazon Connect contact centers.
Do you have a managed service option?
Stand by while I check with the doctor. Be patient during the silence.
That's how I tried to deal with the latency between asking the question and getting an answer.
Yes, there is a managed service option for Amazon Connect call centers.
How much does it cost to have a managed service option?
Stand by while I check with the doctor. Be patient during the silence. The search results do not provide an exact cost for the managed service option. However, result 5 indicates that with the managed service option, you will be billed on a cost plus 15% management fee basis.
Can I speak to a human, please?
A real person could put me out of work. Okay, stand by. I will find a real person. Please say the first name of an agent, or you can say sales or support.
Support.
Thank you for calling. Your call is very important to us and will be answered in the order it was received. Support.
Okay, so you get a feel for how the bot can work in a receptionist model. I hope you found this informative, and I thank you for viewing.